So what about the Druids and our favorite plant? We will see what Christian Rash says in his excellent history. I'm Lex Pelger. I do Canna Education for CV Sciences, the makers of these excellent plus CBD products that can be shipped to you anywhere in the US. On the cannabinoids, ask me anything. So this is just a short little box on this section on the German hemp goddess. I'll end up with a photo of it so you can see the sources. But there isn't that much to go on because we really don't know that much about the Druids in general. Most of what gets said out there is conjecture and guesswork. And no one who seriously studies this today thinks that there is an unbroken tradition to the Druids. It really was dismantled by the Catholic Church. And if you start quoting Robert Graves at me about how those ancient practices are still here, what Robert Graves did was interview a bunch of modern witches and then write about their practices and set it in ancient Druid times. So he wasn't actually calling on anything older. He was just using his power of poetry to guess at what might have been happening. So no one can really say anything definitively about the Druids, but here is what Rash has to say. So, what was the magical plant of the Druids? In the ancient literature, the most important plant of the Gallic Druids is often listed and described under the name verbena. Today, this plant is usually interpreted botanically as vervain, but vervain does not exhibit any of the effects listed in the ancient writings. For this reason, the botanical identification has long remained in question. The Gaul Marcellus, around 400 CE, served as a high government official under Emperor Theodosius I and wrote a recipe book in Latin for his sons entitled De Medicamentis, of the medicines. This work is one of the most important sources of Gaelic Celtic ethnobotany, and in this text he wrote that verbena could heal goiter, which was known as a royal malady, and was also a sympathetic agent for treating hemorrhage. An old High German gloss, which is an explanation of a translation in the notes, an old High German gloss stated verbena herba quam decimus hanaf, vervain, which is called hanaf. The Gauls thus use the Germanic word for hemp to refer to the magical vervain of the Druids. There is archaeological and ethno-historical evidence for the Gaelic Celtic use of hemp as a fumigant, even though and then quoting from the historian Mark Hale, even though the European hemp does not have the same power as the Indian hemp, it is still able to induce a trance state and was long used in rural areas for this purpose. With great likelihood, it can be assumed that the Druids also availed themselves of it. So, did the Druids use hemp as a fumigant intoxicant for trance states? Nobody can say for sure, but it really is a darn good guess.